Today, I am joined by Dave Will, the founder of PropFuel, an AI-powered conversational engagement and feedback automation platform.
I've had some successes. I've got a great family. Got all the things and all the people, and I'm happy. Yet, a little voice in my head, it's still sitting there saying, you got lucky. Building a good software company isn't about writing code. It's about solving a problem and doing it really well. You have to genuinely embrace you. You can try to be someone else, but you'll never be the best someone else. If you can figure out what are those things that make you thrive and then build a life around that, that's what's gold.
Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Life's a Pitch. Before we get into today's episode, I need you to do me a huge favor. Whatever platform you're on, so Apple, Spotify, or YouTube, make sure to follow or subscribe. I know everybody always says that, but for a newer show like this, one subscriber genuinely makes a huge difference. All right. That's my ask. Let's get to our amazing guest for today's show. Today, I am joined by Dave Will, the founder of PropFuel. PropFuel is an AI-powered conversational engagement and feedback automation platform specifically built for trade associations and professional societies. I love this intro because Dave sent it over to me and I edited it a little bit, but it's just his personality, and I think you guys will see this once we get into it. But Dave used to work in corporate America, was told that he lacked a sense of urgency, not once but twice, got fired, started his own company, and sold it back in 2015. Now he's fighting this little voice in his head that says he got lucky and needs to prove it wasn't a fluke. So he's doing it all again with PropFuel, which he started 9 years ago. Dave, what's up, man? Welcome to the show.
Jared Gibson. Jared, do you have that? Do you have a little voice in your head that is constantly shooting you down and telling you you're dumb and ugly and fat?
100%. You know what
I
heard
really?
that?
Don't just say that because I think it. Do you really have that?
We all have it. Anybody that says that they don't have that going on in their head, I don't know if I necessarily believe. I was at an EO event. I know you're close to EO a few years ago, and they had a speaker at the event. And you know what she called those voices in your head? Bitches in the attic. She's like, you got all these bitches in the attic. And I'm like, that's a great phrase for it because that's exactly what it is. It's like
I got those bitches in the attic. Yeah.
They are. Well, you got to.
Actually, mine's one little bitch. Mine is like it's my 15-year-old little bitch. And so, and you know what's ridiculous? So I think back to my teen years and, I was super insecure. I was underdeveloped. I wasn't good at sports. I was scared of girls. And when I was 15, I wasn't that smart. Usually, all the people I just described, they're really smart, and that kind of makes up for it. I wasn't even that smart. And so, here I am, 55. I've had some successes. I've got a great family, smoking hot wife. I got a great book. I had a pool, man. I got a pool. I got all the things and all the people, and I'm happy. Yet, the fucking little voice in my head, it's still sitting there saying, you got lucky. You couldn't do that again.
I mean, but if anything else, it's the motivation that you probably
I guess so.
Maybe need to continue to try to do it again.
That's the chip on your shoulder they talk about, isn't it?
Yes. But so I want to come back to that voice in a minute, but I want to talk about when we jumped on. So we met about a month ago through our friend Kate. Shout out to Kate. She sent an intro over, said you and Dave would just hit it off. Great conversation.
Great messaging expert, Kate. She helped us with our messaging at PropFuel, coming up with the right words. She's awesome. Yeah.
Yes, and we will make sure that we add her contact information at the end of this. Kate Dileo, Dileo. Shout out to Kate. But I noticed last time and this time, you got your shirts are pretty. Let's see. Is that long sleeve or short sleeve shirt?
Yeah. So this shirt,
I love those.
Thanks for asking about it, man. So this shirt. So if you're just listening to this, I'm wearing this. It's a Hawaiian flannel shirt, and so it's long sleeve, and it's my son's business. It's he's 26. He started this thing in high school. He raised money by doing all these pitch competitions in college, And then I think we actually paid way more for college than he made in his pitch competitions. But hey, college is like summer camp. So like there's that. He got summer camp out of it. But he also did the pitch competitions, got some great the money for the shirts. And then he started doing these shirts. When he graduated, he turned into a full-time gig. And so now he's got a real business. And so he's doing these things. It's called The Kona Brand. So thekonabrand.com. And I love these shirts. I wear them all the time. They're great, cool summer nights or skiing in the winters. I love it. Yeah. So the shirt I'm wearing, it's like this Nantucket red with white. They're all pretty subtle. This is the brightest out of all of them. But thanks for asking. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Entrepreneurship runs in the family. I love to hear that. Speaking of the family, so when we spoke last, you had just gotten back from Australia. I could not talk about this. And I went to Australia on my honeymoon, so we kind of visited the same spots. So we got rabbit holed on talking about Australia. But you had a very good story about your family trip to Australia. And this, I think, this story, it is a family story that tells you, like, this is a family that I would love to hang out with because they bust each other's balls and they don't take themselves too serious. So
this is the Opera House?
Yeah, you got to tell the story.
Well, so we were going to Melbourne and Sydney and the Great Ocean Road and went up to the Blue Mountains, I think it's called, up just north of Sydney. And so we went to all these different places. But in Sydney, which, by the way, most beautiful people in the world are in Sydney. Like that's something I learned. And you're allowed to visit if you're not beautiful, but you can't stay. You're limited to like a few days. I think we maxed out our time in Sydney with not being as beautiful as everyone else. So in going to Sydney, though, you got to go to the Sydney Opera House. And so, like, I didn't really care about the show I saw. I just wanted to go to Sydney Opera House. So went to sydneyoperahouse.com and I bought these tickets to, it wasn't Les Mis. It was Phantom of the Opera.
Jekyll and Hyde, Phantom of the Opera, yeah.
No, so I got a Phantom of the Opera tickets, and so the day shows up, we're walking to Sydney Opera House, we're taking pictures of it for the few days before. Second to last night, we go to the Sydney Opera House, we're walking out there, we all had a couple drinks, my kids are all in their 20s, and we're walking out there. I'm even getting this on video, so I have this really cool video walking to the Opera House, and so we get to the base of the steps, and there's like 5,000 steps going up to the entrance, and there's an usher at the bottom, and he comes up to us and super friendly. He's like, "Hey, so what show are you here for?" And I'm like, "Oh, there's multiple shows. That's interesting." And so we show him our tickets with, the silhouette of the Sydney Opera House on it, and it says Phantom of the Opera. And he's like, "So you're actually in this theater across the bay?" And we're like, "What do you mean?" It's like, no, but we got tickets for the Sydney Opera House, paid $1,500 fluffing dollars for the tickets at this Sydney Opera House because we wanted to be in the Sydney Opera House. He's like, "Yeah, well, you're going to have a great view of the Sydney Opera House from Phantom of the Opera across the way in this bay." So anyway, we went over there. I honestly was so unhappy and sad about it, mostly because I feel like I let down my family. But it's hard not to just laugh about it. My kids started teasing me about it the whole time we're over, like watching the Phantom. My son, he's 23, he leans over, he's like, "Hey, Dad, you can see the Phantom. You can see the Sydney Opera House from here. Doesn't it look cool?" Great view of the Sydney Opera House. So anyway, needless to say, that's going to be one they're not going to let me forget. That's for sure.
That's
my
great.
little Sydney Opera House story.
That's good. Yeah. I like it. Did you guys do the bridge walk?
No.
Tours? No.
We saw them. I don't know. Like that wasn't. We actually saw them when we were kayaking.
Okay.
So we
go.
did a lot of cool things, but I don't know. Nobody in my family nor I was that intrigued by walking over the bridge. It's cool. I get it.
It's just a box to check if you're from one of the tourist boxes that are over there.
So this guy I know, I had this guy in my podcast. So here's another plug. EO360 is the podcast I do for Entrepreneurship Organization. Thank you. And I had this guy on, Paul de Gelder, who's this Australian army guy, and he was eaten by a bull shark in Sydney Harbor. So like there we are in Sydney Harbor. And he wasn't eating all the way. I mean, he was alive.
Okay, I was like, did you have him on pre-eating?
No, post-eating. And it was like, so he had lost his, so he's swimming down by his side, like on his back doing a drill for the Army. In fact, he had just jumped in to relieve a younger Army guy, like a rookie. What do you call a rookie in the Army? Anyway, rookie in the Army. So he relieves him. He's swimming on his back. Yeah, whatever, young guy. Swimming on his back, wearing his wetsuit. And the inflatable was, I don't know, not too far away with a couple of his guys in it. And they're just doing a drill, and he's swimming around. All of a sudden, he just feels like the slam in the side. And his arms are down by his side, and he looks down. And because he doesn't realize what happened, he looks down, and he sees this, I think he said it was like a 1,200-pound bull shark with his jaws clamped onto the midsection of his body, which means it now has his right arm and his right leg in its jaws. And so he can't reach its eye. So he's actually rational enough to think about poking it in the eye, because that's what so he's like, I'm going to poke this thing in the eye. That's he thinks. Like he's actually processing thoughts at this point. And so he tries to poke, and I can't reach with his left hand. And so he just starts punching the thing in the face, trying to get it to scare it and get away. That doesn't work. Now the thing starts grinding its teeth sideways into him, and he's like, most excruciating pain he's ever felt. It drags him under, starts thrashing him around underwater. At this point, he's resigned to death. He thinks he's dead. And next thing he knows, it pops up to the top. Thing had gotten sick of like trying to eat him, didn't like human bones and all that stuff. I guess sharks don't like people in general. And so he pops to the top. He loses his leg and loses his arm. And he's still a super stud. Like, you want to see this guy? He's jacked. He's married to a supermodel now. He's a spokesperson in Discovery Channel for Shark Week. He's just awesome. So anyway, that happened in Sydney Harbor too. So we're kayaking in Sydney Harbor, and I made the mistake of telling my wife, I was like, hey, hon, do you remember that guy, Paul DeGelter, the one who was eaten by a bull shark? That was right here. That did not go well. Do not tell your wife about the bull shark attack that happened inches from where her elbow is.
Yeah, bull sharks too, I think, are the most violent sharks. There's the more attacks worldwide per year with bull sharks. And I've seen videos of underneath the Sydney Harbor Bridge of dead killer whales, like orcas, like carcasses, and like you can Google this and find it. There's like 3 or 4 great whites just going to town on this carcass right underneath the Sydney Harbor Bridge.
Wow.
And that's the only thing that when we were there, because we went on a little fishing boat expedition around out to like Bondi Beach and then back.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I was thinking about. Like, what if I just saw like something like that when we were, it doesn't surprise me that attack happened there. There
was just, I think literally like weeks ago, there was a shark attack somewhere near Bondi Beach. Like there's a whole string of beaches on that side of Sydney, and there's a shark attack there recently.
Crazy. All right, let's move on.
Hey, yeah, what are we talking about? What's this podcast about?
We can keep going on shark attacks. I'm good. Is it Shark Month? I don't know when Shark Month is.
No, I don't know either.
All right, so to say you're a pretty relentless fella is kind of an understatement. You got 56 marathons under your belt, 2 Ironmans, a 50 miler, and you sailed from the Caribbean to Boston.
Yeah, so all these are just like random fun endurance things. Yeah.
My random fun endurance thing is I one time did a Tough Mudder, and I'm so proud of it that I still have the headband.
They're fun, right? Yeah, Tough Mudders are tough.
Yeah, it's a good time. But 56 marathons, 2 Ironman, and a 50 miler is pretty intense. So you've got this theory that the most powerful force in the world isn't intelligence; it's the stuff that never quits, right?
Well,
the
of course, the guy that
sucked, all that stuff.
The guy that sucked at school, of course, is going to say that, but
for sure. But that's what it goes back to, right? This goes back to the bitches in the attic that we talked about at the beginning of the episode. This relentless thing that is yelling at that other voice in your head saying you're fucking wrong, right?
Yeah.
So where does that all come from? Does it come from sucking
first of all,
at school?
let me say this. I appreciate the accolades. I am proud of those accomplishments. It's interesting. It goes back, I think, to when one of my friends, I giggle when I say the word friend because, when I was 15, that bitch that's still in my head, I was pudgy and I was underdeveloped young high school kid after the prom. We're at the beach and I take off my shirt and he's like, "Hey, Jelly Donut," like that was his nickname for me, which is, if it's not you, it's kind of funny, call a little doughboy Jelly Donut, JD, and for short, but I wonder, had that moment not happened, would I not have gotten into running and would I not have done the 56 marathons? So there we were. I'm like, I had just crossed 50 marathons. This is I don't know, a few years ago. I just crossed 50 marathons. And I'm down in Delaware Beach. And there's a big party afterwards. Marathoners love to drink. And at this point, I had a few beers. And I go up to this woman who's at this really almost college level party at 11 in the morning after the marathon. And it's crazy. They're passing around the what's that red? It's alcohol, red fireballs.
Fireball.
This gallon of Fireball or 2-liter thing of Fireballs. People are chugging from this thing. And I think this is post-COVID too. Anyway, so it couldn't have been. Must have been before COVID. Anyway, needless to say, so I go up to this one, I'm "Hey, guess what? I just ran my 50th marathon." And I'm all braggy and psyched about it. She's like, "Oh my God, that's amazing. Good for you. I just did 275. And it just instantly, it just puts me in my place. And I was running Nantucket Marathon once, and I don't think they do that one anymore. Back in the day, I was running Nantucket Marathon, and again, very proud of myself. And I'm running along mile 16 or something. I come up to this older guy, and we start a conversation. And he too was on 250 marathons. So there's thank you for the accolades, but it's really not that impressive in the scheme of things. So having said that, though, the persistence. I think about this all the time when I look at erosion. I go to the beaches, especially in New England, where there's a lot of erosion, and on the islands and the Cape Cod and Nantucket and Block Island and Martha's Vineyard. There's houses literally falling into the water after they've been there for a century. And it's incredible to me, the persistence of this little wave. And you can stand in this wave. In this wave, it doesn't hurt you, but over years and years and years and years and years of crashing onto that beach, it's going to knock a house down. And I think that's the coolest thing. And the same is true with me and doing these marathons or even sailing at 12 knots up the coast of the United States. It's not very fast, but over the course of 8 days, it gets you a pretty good distance. So anyway, the same is true with business. I've never had some brilliant ideas. My ideas aren't amazing. In fact, my first business, the idea was just really dumb. But it ultimately turned into this software company I sold because every day you wake up and you go back to the office. You do it again, and you do it again, and you do it again, like the gym. Nobody gets buff going to the gym for a week straight. You get buff by going to the gym week after week after week after week. That's the persistence. That's my theory. Not a theory, it's fact.
Oh, it's 100% fact. I mean, it's a system. Yeah. It's the same thing we tell people when we talk about content, for example. You get it, you put out a ton of content. Everybody's like, "Oh, this isn't working," and it's been a month. And it's this is a long-term game. You have to be consistently doing this over time for it to work.
Does it always work? Content? Let's talk specifically about content.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it always works. It definitely doesn't always work.
What do you think makes content? Let's talk because I'm really intrigued by it. So we talked about my son and his business, the Kona brand, and I see him doing it. He's putting ads out, tons of ads, tons of content, with the hope that that word spreads about his shirts.
Yeah.
Is there persistence is one variable? What else are you looking at when you're trying to get eyeballs on content?
Yeah, I think that you've got to, too often I see with content specifically, people trying to sell. They're putting out all this content where they're trying to sell their product. They're trying to feature sell something that their product, all this stuff. When from where I sit, I think the content that works is when you speak to the specific worry or challenge that your buyers are having. So you have to, for me, it's this is building trust. Right? You're not going to put out a piece of content. And this could be a LinkedIn post. This could be a YouTube video. This could be a podcast episode. This could be a testimonial video on your whatever that is. One piece of content is more likely than not going to get somebody to buy what you're doing. It has to be trickles of content that they're seeing over time that is speaking to them, right? They want to
Relevant.
understand
It's relevant to them. Yeah.
relevant to them. Don't sell them. People don't like being sold. So even if you have something that somebody may need, if the content or the angle is all about sell, 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 I'm going to jam this shit down your throat, it's going to turn people off. And then they're going to go look for something else that does something similar to this. And that other competitor may not be jamming it down your throat, but may actually be doing what they're supposed to be doing and playing the long-term game of content, which is building trust over time. That's where I'm at on content. And that's where I think a lot of people tend to kind of miss the boat. And I'm talking specifically B2B right now. I'm not in the B2C world necessarily, but from a B2B perspective, that's the way that I view it.
I don't think it's that far off with B2C either. I'm not into B2C either. I just observe what my son is doing. But like, I'm thinking about somebody like hardcore selling me shorts or a shirt and the features of it. And what I'm more into is if I see like a surfer dude wearing a shirt or a hiker or somebody that I want to be like wearing that shirt, not saying anything about it, just representing it. That's what I love.
Just looking better. Like that guy doesn't have these side fat things that I've got, but I wonder if I wear that shirt, if it's going to make these disappear. I'm in. Let's buy it. Instagram, target the shit out of me. Here's my card. Yeah. So I don't know. It's an ongoing conversation. We're actually starting a Substack, myself and my two co-founders, around it's called the Content Archive, where we're going to bring all angles of content from a AI engineering perspective to a design aesthetic perspective to a growth marketing perspective. So I'm excited for that. But anyway,
I should know this, but what does it mean when you say you're starting a Substack?
So it's a newsletter.
Okay.
Newsletter.
Email?
Substack is
generally
just a
it's all
platform.
email, or is it? Could it be like a blog online or a?
Yeah, it is. It's a blog. It's a platform in essence that we'll build on, and then we'll have an email that goes out when there's a new issue or new episode, whatever article that's out. And then there's actually the Substack. If you download the app, it looks like Twitter, which is really cool. So you can do short form and then link to the long form actual article. So
Substack's a brand. It's a platform.
Yep.
I get it. I've heard the term, but I've never actually looked into what it is, but that makes sense to me now.
Yeah. We're trying to pull away from LinkedIn a little bit right now because we've been primarily LinkedIn, at least I have from my content perspective. I don't like the direction that LinkedIn's going right now. So I'm big into diversification on content nowadays. All right. So I want to get back into your world, which is the association world. And we talked about this a little bit on the last call. And, you and I talked, the reason we got connected is because Outworks, my company, is really looking to niche down into this space around helping associations and privately held organizations, whatever, build out video content featuring their speakers, all this stuff. Anyway, but this world like the back of your hand, like it very well. How did you end up in this space? And you've been in there for 25 years now. So it was before PropFuel, but you just use your knowledge base in essence, listen to people and built out what PropFuel is now. So how did you land in the association world, and like what is unique about that space? Unique is a word that I'm using here.
You're right. It's certainly where I spend a lot of my time. Those are the people that buy the products I've made in this company and in my last company. I know the industry. I like the industry. I don't know if it's like, this is semantics. I don't know if I describe it as my world. It's definitely where I live. I think my world is more like your world, which is I identify as like an entrepreneur. That I love the game of entrepreneurship. So that's how I would define my world. But certainly I play in the space of associations, which is kind of a nonprofit, and it's member-based organizations, whether it's organizational or individual professional-based. There's like 64,000 of them in the U.S. alone. They're all quite small for the most part. There's a few bigger ones, but for the most part of those 64,000, like I want to say 90% of those are somewhere around $1 million, $2 million in revenue. Many are under $1 million in revenue. So it's like it's like selling to small businesses. Anyways, how'd I get into that? And you're right. I think you alluded to this in the question, in the way that it's constantly feeling your way to value product market fit, figuring out what the right product is and who the right buyers are and what's the problem that you're solving. And so for me, I started a business in 2001. I started selling to some people and bought the product, and I've happened to sell something to Walmart, and then what I sold them evolved into something else. It started as a service and evolved into a service doing something else. That service turned into a kind of a deliverable, and that deliverable now becomes a product. And then I realized that, wait a minute, that product, I think I happened to sell it to an association. I was like, so this association. So the point is, like, I was always, and still do, I'm always looking for new opportunities and where there's a better fit, constantly thinking about how can I improve the product market fit. And that's something that I've thought about from day one till the day I sold the business. Constant trying to narrow it down to find better product market fit. So my new marketing guy at my company recently asked, 9 years into this new software company now, PropFuel, and my marketing guy we just hired at the beginning of this year, so like 6 months ago, he said, so what is the key variable? What is it going to take for us to hit our number this year? We have a very aggressive number that we're going after. He's like, what's it going to take? And I started thinking, okay, so it's going to take the right marketing, it's going to take the right sales team, it's going to take the right, dollars invested in the right place, and take, the product has to be improved. But then ultimately the answer is what we're talking about here. The answer is, like, if we've built the right product over the past, we added in AI and over the last year, and if we've done it right, we've just found much better product market fit. That's what it's going to require. It's going to require us having gambled and built something in the right direction to increase demand, increase close rates, and increase price tag in order for us to hit our number. So anyway, that's a very long-winded way of saying that product market fit is how I got into the association world. It is constantly just finding a really good problem to solve. There's another thing. Some people say you should start by finding a problem to attack, and other people, and I think that's the right way. The way I've always done it is, like, I come up with a cool gadget and then I sell it. And I try to find a problem that gadget solves. And that's not the right way. That takes longer. But anyway, that's just been the approach I've done.
Hey, listen, it's worked. If it's not broke, don't fix it. But that's an interesting play. I have a good friend, Mark Beelan, who's actually a EO Chicago guy that was doing SEO and kind of tripped and fell into the auto space, like dealer space, for local SEO for dealerships. And now they're one of the top in the country for it. And he's like, I never thought I would be the car dealer guy for SEO, but here we are. So yeah, I mean, it's true. And we battled niching down for a while. Like, oh, what we do could be used for anybody. And then you start to realize, like, then you get viewed with 1,000 other companies that are doing the same thing, even though you know that you're different from those companies. The outside world doesn't. So how are you going to separate yourself? And the one thing that kept getting beat into our head over and over again by anybody that I would talk to is, like, you need to niche down. You need to tell a story from somewhere you already have, which we do. And this is ultimately the play that I think is going to get us off this kind of plateau that we've been on to accelerate and get us where we need to be. So I love it.
We talked about our friend Kate DeLeo.
Mm-hmm.
One of the questions she asked us in the workshops that we went through with her was, if you're in a room with 100 people in your industry, who do you talk to? Like, who's the one person you really want to talk to? Describe them. And we started kind of vague. He's like, no, get really specific. Like, who is the one person you want to talk to? And, like, talk about getting nichey. Like, who is the one person you want to talk to? What do they look like? What's their business? What's their role? Like, that's awesome, man. Like, now you're talking about a niche.
Yeah. And it's terrifying because we haven't been playing in that. It's almost like I don't know if we would we wouldn't turn other people down, but devoting, for me personally, because I'm kind of the face and the sales side of it, devoting all of my time pretty much moving forward to this specific niche. Like I'll see you in Indianapolis. We're going to go to that conference. Like, so there's a lot I think that's going to be put into it. I'm very excited. It's like a newfound spark that I'm pumped about. So I don't know, we'll see where we go with it.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to what you talked about, like planning for this year, right? A few months ago, you posted on LinkedIn that you guys were launching Membership AI and called it kind of the second founding.
Yeah.
The part that I think that I like the most is you said after hundreds of conversations with clients, the same problems kept coming up, right? They've got way too much to do and they're nowhere near the resource. They don't have near the resources to do it. Where are you guys at right now with that? That was a few months ago, and I know you've launched that kind of angle of it. Like, where's that at now? And tell me that problem that you're ultimately solving with this kind of second founding of PropFuel.
Yeah. So 9 years ago, we started this company, PropFuel, before AI was part of the conversation. I mean, obviously, AI has been happening forever, but until ChatGPT came out with it, and what was that, 22? I think it was
I think so.
20. I think it was 22.
22 or 23.
Yeah. So like, it was like November of 22, I think. And that just made AI mainstream. And what an amazing conversation. So it wasn't long after that we started this conversation like, okay, so being a software company, we have got to make the leap. We have got to incorporate AI deep into the core of our platform. It can't just be like a magic wand here to, spell check. It's like we got to bake AI like we're building it from scratch, but we're not going to build the platform from scratch. It doesn't, that in and of itself didn't make sense. But we really have to think about how are we going to use AI to do some amazing things within the platform. And so we started that conversation about a year ago today. It was halfway through last year that we started this conversation. And I think, who was it that said something like, if I'm going to chop down a tree, it was like Washington or Abe Lincoln or something like that said, if I'm going to chop down a tree, I'm going to spend, if I have an hour to do it, I'm going to spend the first 55 minutes sharpening my axe. It was that kind of scenario where we spent so much time talking to clients, lots of interviews, of course, actually processing it through a project in Claude, an AI agent that was helping us analyze and dissect the data and what we're hearing using Granola, which I love. Granola is my favorite note-taking tool because it doesn't get invasive. It doesn't put something into Zoom. It's something sitting on your laptop or on your phone capturing the audio, and it's absolutely incredible. So we capture the audio from all these conversations with clients, and conversations were generally like 20, 30 minutes. Ask them a series of questions about what hurts, what makes your job really hard, and sometimes we'd ask them questions about specific ideas we're thinking of, and so we took that to heart, and it was a very iterative process in the way that would allow us to formulate some ideas. I think we came up with some prototyping, which is super easy to do now with vibe coding, to come up with a prototype that doesn't really work, but that's okay because you really just want to visualize what it might look like and bring that back to the clients, the prospects, and have those conversations again. And it allows you to create something that's really solving problems for our clients. And what we found is that, very specific to our product and the people working in our product, they just want to understand what's going on in the membership, in their customer base. Like, what is happening? What's going on in there? And they also don't want to go in and just do all the work of digging around and like exploring and building stuff, like the worky work stuff, like the stuff where you go in and build things and click buttons. Like, nobody has time for that. They dread doing that. And so those are the two problems we're solving. We broke that down into two categories: insight, that's the what's happening, and then engagement, and that's the building of the campaigns. And so what we've done is we've created these signals and done all this really, really cool stuff to bring insight from the depths of all the data to make sense and give them stories about what's happening in their membership. And then the other piece of it is, which we're rolling out literally in, actually I was going to say a week, but it's less than a week. Today is a Thursday. Is that right? Wednesday. I don't know what day it is. Anyway, rolling out next week.
Oh, good.
Next week, man. That's what I'm trying to say. We're rolling it out next week, and we're going to have all this automated generation of content for our clients. So it's like those are the two things we're covering. It's the insight and it's the engagement piece. It's just awesome. Really cool. I'm not sure what the question was actually.
No, it's good.
I think it was around like, how are you incorporating AI? What's changing? What's changed in my world? That's what's changed. And here's another interesting thing, which you didn't ask, but I'm going to get into anyway, because I think being a software guy, I think it's interesting. There's a lot of talk right now about SaaS, software as a service, which pretty much describes any software company, and the value because it's getting so easy to program. It's getting so easy to write code. I'm not too concerned. There is disruption in the market. That's a fact. You look at the rates and how much software companies are selling for and the multiples and so on, like that's been impacted for the worse. I don't think that's going to last. I don't think there's a problem for many software companies because building a good software company isn't about writing code. It's about solving a problem and doing it really well, building a network or base of customers and a relationship with them. And all of that stuff, the marketing, the connection, the client success component of it, the solving the problem in the right way, all of that stuff is what makes a good company, not writing the code. And in fact, I even said the analogy I made of sharpening the axe. We spent all that time listening to clients, talking to them, coming up prototypes, going back and forth before we even started doing the code. And it's all the pre-work that makes a really good software company. So I'm not too concerned about SaaS as an industry, but I find that interesting nonetheless.
No, I think that's good positioning, right? You know the industry, you know the people, you're the one having the conversations, understanding the challenges that they're dealing with. You can build it. You've already got the background. You've already got the data already built into what you build. So when you've got somebody that doesn't know the space nearly as well that you do, can't just go build something. Yeah, they can go build it, right? Yes, today they can build something that competes with what you guys are building, but the ability for them to outlast what you're building. Trust, it's not going to happen. The trust,
brand, and merely just the time it takes to acquire 350 B2B clients. That takes time, and so anyway, that's why I'm not too concerned about the industry. Now, I could also just be completely wrong. It's very possible that my company would be worth nothing in 3 years. I don't think that's the case, but it's possible.
You got a lot of relationships with a lot of organizations that know who you guys are. So I think
so too. Like I said, I'm not worried. It's we'll see.
And by the way, that came out this week. Technically, when this comes out next week, and this comes out next week.
I have a feeling people listening to this podcast don't care about about the product itself. Yeah. But I mean, we so the point is, like a year ago, we started talking about it. We started developing components. We released this year. We released big chunks, which we normally don't do. Like it's normally like a 1 or 2 week cycle to release software. In this scenario, we're looking at like quarters and like building something really big over the course of 3 months and releasing it and dog fooding it, as we call it, which is releasing it internally and eating our own food and then play with it. And then, so we did these big releases. Fortunately, we're past that stage where we're doing these big releases. Now we're back into this cycle of 1 week sprints now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Story time.
What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about when you sold your last business 15 years ago, right? Or 2015.
Yeah, 10 years ago, right?
10, yeah.
11-ish, whatever.
I've had quite a few people on the show that have exited their companies. And the question I always like to ask them is, like, the Monday after, let's say the few days after the wire hits and you're sitting at home, like what is going through your head when you see that and you're just laying there? Is there something that you did? Is there something you're like, shit, now what am I going to do? I got to start another company. Because I've had people say that to me before, not even actually enjoy it. So what did you do when that wire hit that Monday? Let's call it the Monday after you sold the business.
Well, we can be much more specific. I sold the business and I was driving. So I live in Boston and I was driving up north to New Hampshire to meet some friends the day I sold the business, meet some friends up in Franconia Notch in the White Mountains. And my wife and I were in the car, and I kept looking at our Vanguard account. Like, where is it? Closed a few hours ago. The money's supposed. My attorney says that they've wired it, and I keep going to the Vanguard account. Finally, after like 2 hours, I call Vanguard, and I'm like, "Hey, I was supposed to get a little deposit in my account today. I'm not seeing it. Can you check in on that?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, since a money market account, that won't show up until the next day." I'm like, "Oh, motherfucker." So anyway, stop looking, go to bed. We're in this condo that my friends had rented. We were staying with them, and we go to this condo, and you said you're laying there, which was exactly what I was doing. So the next morning, I think it was a Saturday morning. I woke up the next morning, and I'm still laying in bed, and I go on my phone. I go to my Vanguard account. I never dreamed. Went laying there with my wife, who I'm deeply in love with. We have amazing kids. I'm really proud of them. And then this is like amazing. It's just an incredible feeling. And then that afternoon, after skiing, we go to this like ski shop, and there's this cool flannel shirt that I saw, and I look at the price tag, and it's like $90 or something like that. And I was like, I'm not paying $90 for a shirt. And my wife, which it's actually in hindsight, it's not that much, but it's like $90. I'm like, I'm not gonna pay $90 for a shirt. My wife came up to me and she looked at me like, "Are you fucking crazy? Like, just buy the shirt." And so I did. And I still have that shirt in my closet. It's a good memory of like
That's
that
awesome.
moment, that transition. So that was like the day. Then the next year, I kept working for the company for like 9 months. It was supposed to be longer. I didn't make it much longer. What's interesting is I stopped working for them. And I don't remember. So I could do the math in my head, but I went a period of time where I didn't do anything. I just joined the board of the local Boys and Girls Club. I was heavily involved in the Boy Scouts with my kids. I was involved in sporting, and I was coaching basketball and soccer. And I don't remember what I did in that, I don't know, it was 6 months or a year. Like, I do not remember what I did. And it's the most bizarre thing to have this window of time that just seems like evaporated. I just have no idea what I did. And so that's the beauty of having a purpose. That's the beauty of going to work and working on building something. I wasn't depressed. I know a lot of people go through this window where they're like, I'm at a loss. I sold my identity. I don't know what I'm going to do next. I didn't go through any of that. I was just ecstatic. I was very, very proud of myself. As trite as it sounds, I was proud of myself, and I had hit the pinnacle of my career. And then I was trying to figure out what to do next. I thought, okay, do you write a book? Because everybody writes a book, right? Or do you go consult because everybody's consulting? And I realized like that little voice in my head was like, "You got lucky, you motherfucker. You got so lucky. You stepped in shit you didn't even know you did." And so that is what led me down this path of saying, you know what, I got to try it again. Make sure I can do it again.
Another one.
Actually do it on purpose.
Yeah. But you co-founded PropFuel, right?
Yep.
Like, was there a story behind how you came together with your co-founder?
Well, so the first business, I started with a partner, and then I bought him out like a few years in for, this is kind of funny, so bought him out for $17,000 plus a laptop. Like, he got to keep the laptop and 17 grand. And he was a great partner. I really liked him, but he also had a full-time job and didn't want to take on the risk, and I needed to so that was my first partner. Then I went a bunch of years as the sole owner. I hired a bunch of people, and then I met another guy that had another business that worked really well. So we brought our businesses together. In reality, I mean, by the books, my company acquired his company, but it was all equity, no money involved, all equity. And so I had 2/3 of the business. He had 1/3 of the business. Ultimately, like a couple of years later, he wanted out. And so I bought his third out for a couple $100,000 to that point. And then a few years later, sold it for many, many millions, which was the difference, it's a significant difference. So I went from buying his third for, I don't remember exactly, like $200,000 or $300,000. And then like 3 years later, it was worth like 10 or 12 times what I had bought it for, which is just, talk about an awesome return. So when I sold that, it was just me. Now, At the time, my partner today, Cameron, worked for me. He was younger at the time. He was young and a graduate from Georgia Tech and super smart developer. And I'm not a software developer guy. I'm a non-technical founder, as you'd call it. And I just had so much admiration for Cameron and the things he knew and the way he thought about stuff. We're yin and yang, total yin and yang. So I just kept calling him up after, and he worked for the acquiring company too for a long time. And I kept calling him up after and saying, hey man, like I got an idea, like digital birthday cards. Like the ideas are so bad. And I kept calling him like, what about a gift shop? But like people can customize their stuff. Like, and I kept coming in with all these terrible ideas, and he's like, "Nah." I came up with the best one I had was like a platform where students can find internships. And he's like, "Yeah, I don't know about that." So he called me up one day and he's like, "I got an idea," and I was all in. I didn't even care what the idea was. It was like, whatever, let's just do it, because that's another theory of mine. I don't think the idea matters that much because it's going to change and evolve so much over time. Whatever you think is a great idea, chances are it's going to be completely different in 3, 4, 5 years. So I didn't know what the idea was. Anyway, so that's how I got my partners. I kept calling him, being like, hey, let's do something. Let's do something. And the cool thing is I had the money and he didn't. So without me, he couldn't really go off and do it on his own. And I couldn't do it without him because he had the smarts to write the code.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that story. I love founding stories and how businesses start. And I do agree with you. Like, I mean, for example, Outwork started as something completely different than what we were. And I think almost every founder that I know, what they started with is completely different from what they succeeded with.
What's your founding story?
So I got together with 2 guys that I used to work with. We did mobile application development, and I was the VP of sales on Brandon's team. It was Brandon's company. He's an engineer, developer. And then Kelly, he is a designer. He ran the design team. So I was head of sales, design, engineer. I got moved over to a private equity, a sister company, ran marketing over there. So went from sales to marketing. Brandon and Kelly's company got pulled underneath the private equity wing to build out a payroll platform for build out a payroll platform. That company, my company, ended up getting acquired, and they put me on some other company I didn't want to be on anymore. And I went back to Brandon. I'm like, I'm thinking about starting my own thing. I've been an EO as like a sponsor, like a sponsor for like 4 years, and I made all these friends, and like if they can do it, like there's no reason I can't start my own business. And they've been telling me do it. So Brandon's like, yeah, Kelly and I are actually breaking off. We're going to do our own thing too. We should just join forces. So we did that, and we started it was back, I don't know, 4 years ago, 4 years ago, where predictable revenue model had kind of hit its peak, but I knew it. So I'm like, well, I can help entrepreneurs right now generate leads. So let's just do lead gen until we figure out what we want to do. We realized very quickly that we hated lead gen because it sucked. And everybody and their mothers doing lead gen. And what we were doing was actually kind of working for our clients. We just hated to do it. And then we jumped into LinkedIn, and we were generating conversations, but our clients were not building content out. And they kept asking us, I'm like, hey, you're inviting these people into your house and there's no furniture. There's nothing inside. You've got to give them content. Tell them why they should connect with you and why they should listen to you. And then they kept asking us, can you help me with that? Can you help me with that? And eventually we just said yes. And right about the same time ChatGPT came out. So you were right. It was November 2022. So we're like, we can use this to our advantage. And we started using it probably pretty shitty at first. And then we started getting really into it. We started interviewing our clients and jumped into video content. And then that's kind of when it took off for us, because like, that's your separator right there. Like, create video content. And it was primarily on LinkedIn. And now we kind of act as our client's content agency of record. So we started as this, and now we're this. So yeah. It's always a fun little story. But
I think partners make business way more fun, and it creates a challenge, I think, because you have the dynamics, and it's hard to get along with people all the time, especially when you work this closely together, and especially when there's money involved.
Yes. Yeah. I love my partners, but yeah, we're not perfect. every once in a while we'll butt heads. But Brandon's exited a few companies, and he's like, listen, the best companies that I've had have had a hipster, a hustler, and a hacker as part of the executive, like the leadership,
Are you the
founding
hipster?
team.
You're the
No,
hipster, aren't you?
Kelly's the hipster because he's the designer. He runs all of our client engagements. So
Damn,
he's
what
the
are
hipster.
you?
I'm the hustler. I'm the sales guy. I
Hell
gotta be the
yeah.
hustler, right?
Hipster. That I want to be the hipster. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. So let's jump into the portion of the podcast called Extra Innings.
All right.
And I always say this because this is Life's a Pitch, and it's supposed to be I love baseball.
I know
so
you sent me these questions. I skimmed them. I did not actually prepare answers. So that's my preface here. So let's see. I can't remember a single one. So let's see what we got.
I kind of like this. I want to see what you got with.
Do most people? I would imagine most people prepare in advance. I did not. I was not an academic. It was not my thing.
Neither was I.
All
I.
right.
I probably would have looked at these questions a minute before we jumped on this. So you're good.
All right. Go ahead.
What's the one lesson in life, one lesson that you've been taught in life, or you've taught others that you wish more people could hear?
Oh man, this one's easy. And it's written on the collar of this shirt. Actually, I don't know if you can see this.
What does it say?
I'm not going to tell you what that says yet, but I just showed it to you. So when I was leaving my internship, and so I got my MBA. Yeah, it's funny, a non-academic, but I kept going back to school because I thought it would stick eventually. And 2 years between the business school, and I worked for a big software company like SAP, just a big German software company. Wear a suit and tie every day to work in the city. And on my last day, my boss put his arm around me because it was 1995 or 96, and back then you could put your arm around coworkers. So he put his arm around me. He's like, Dave, I encourage you when you're walking through the halls to walk a little faster and smile less, because perception is reality. And I thought it was a great advice because, it's so easy. Anybody can do it. You don't need to learn something. You just do it, right? And I sucked at it. I just couldn't do it. And so what I learned is that you have to, and I've shared this with all my kids, you have to genuinely embrace you. Everybody's heard this phrase that you can try to be someone else, but you'll never be the best someone else. You can be the best you. If you can figure out what are those things that make you thrive and then build a life around that, that's what's gold. And so I changed that advice I got to walk fast and smile less to walk slow and smile more. In fact, right, it's blurred out, but there's a sign behind me that one of my kids made for me. It says, walk slow, smile more. And then the collar of this shirt that I'm wearing, my 26-year-old made it his slogan of his company, walk slow, smile more. So
Love it.
That wasn't a rapid fire answer. So you can cut a few questions out now.
No, I teed that up for you. That was great. I love it. That's a good story.
That's the lesson, man. Yeah, I forgot all about that in terms of this podcast. I love telling that story. Walk slow, smile more. That's good. That's my life mantra.
Love it. All right, what is the last thing that genuinely scared you?
Oh God, everything scares me, especially as I get older, Jared. I'll just answer the question straight out. It was docking my boat like 3 days ago when I came back from a cruise. Like, I swear, everything, as I get older, my anxiety is increasing. I get nervous even before going to conferences. Like, I don't like going. I get this anxiety. Like, I go and got to make small talk with people, and like the night before, and then I actually do it, and I'm fine. I actually have a great time. Docking the boat, I'm fine. It's actually docking the boat is not the problem. It's leading up to docking the boat. But yeah, that's the word scared isn't quite right. I don't remember the last time I was scared. It's really a much lighter, deeper sentiment that I call anxiety. It's just like I'm fearful. I'm fearful of things and more as I get older. And I don't know how to fix that, actually. I'd like to. Got any drugs I can take? Anti-fearfulness drugs?
Yeah,
I think they call it anti-anxiety, actually.
Yeah, anti-anxiety. Yeah. All right. What is? Let's. I'm going to jump into this one because these last two super corny, but I like to hear the answers because it tells me a lot. Right. So First one, you're going to a dinner party. You're going out to have beers. You get 3 people, living or dead, to come with you. Who are the 3 people?
I remember reading this one. I actually the answer I thought of right there and then it still stands. And the three people, my mother died when I was 23, and I miss her desperately. I miss her as much today as I did then. And I would love to have dinner with her. I would love to have dinner with her mother, who I knew quite well, Elsa Castellano, immigrant from Germany. And I would love to have dinner with her father. So my mother, my grandmother, and my grandfather, the three of them. Man, and I never met my grandfather. He was an immigrant from Italy. And so like, man, can you imagine getting to talk to your mom, who died when you were fairly young, her parents, so that you could hear stories, family stories, hear about the immigrants, the businesses they both started. This cash register, which you can't really see behind me, antique cash register, was from my grandmother's health food shop in Mount Vernon, New York, in one of the suburbs of New York. Yeah, I would love to have dinner with them. So many questions.
That's a great,
who knows?
great
I don't really
answer.
believe in God and the afterlife and all that stuff, but who knows? Hopefully I'm wrong and I can have that conversation with them one day. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, it's an awesome answer. All right, last question. First concert, last concert.
The first one I think was, and I might even have, I think I'm going to get both of these wrong actually, but the first one was Sting. I'm sorry, I don't know why I said Sting. I think that was actually my last one. The first one was Yes. You remember Yes?
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Do you really?
Of a Lonely Heart? Owner of a Lonely Heart?
Owner of a Lonely Heart, yeah. So
I know
Yes,
Yes.
in Hartford, Connecticut, near where I grew up. And then the last one I think was Sting at Mohegan Sun, and also in Connecticut, coincidentally. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. See right
Love
there.
Sting.
I know
You
I
like
know your
Sting?
taste in music right there.
Are you
yeah,
a
I like
Sting
Sting.
guy?
I'm more of a Police than Sting.
Yeah.
Like I like
classic.
Police songs, but yeah, I mean Sting's great. There's so many.
He's one of the few artists that I followed him when he was in the Police, but then he's one of the few artists that went off and did stuff after that I enjoyed just as much. Not all of it. He went off the tracks doing Broadway stuff for a little while, but like a lot of the stuff he did, I really enjoyed.
Yeah, he was on an episode of. If you listen to Smartless Radio podcast at all,
Yeah.
he was
of
on
course I do.
Smartless at one
I
point.
heard
It was a
it.
good episode.
Yeah.
So
Hey, what about you? What's something you were scared of recently?
something that I was scared of recently. You know, this is probably gonna.
I like
get
this
scared
because
a
it's
lot.
vulnerable question. It makes you
Yeah.
vulnerable, right?
I get scared a lot for my kids, about my kids, because I have an 8-year-old boy and a 10-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I think, just scares me. We live in a town called Highland Park, Illinois.
Yeah.
And there was 4 years ago, actually maybe 5 now, 2022, I think is 23. There was a parade shooting that 7 people were killed here. And we were supposed to be marching in that parade. But we decided that morning we were having people over that we had too much work to do. So we decided not to march in the parade. And all my kids' friends, a lot of them, won't even go anywhere near the parades anymore because they were there. And like, you know, I mean, everything that goes on with like school shootings, like putting our kids on the bus, it's like, that's, I think, what scares me the most right now is just not being in control of everything that's going on with them. And I don't know, that may be a bad thing at some point and just kind of let them learn on their own. But I'd say that's probably what it is.
Yeah, my son that we went to visit in Australia, he turned 21 in Australia. And on his way back, he went through Indonesia. And yeah, he was by himself traveling around Indonesia for a couple weeks. And it was, I know the feeling. Like,
Yeah.
you're totally out of control. You're 2 days
Done.
from helping him if you need to get there to help him with something.
It's crazy. And then, I mean, not to bring this up, but yeah, Bondi Beach. I mean, there was just the incident that happened there a few months ago.
Yeah, shooting
So,
and a shark attack. Yeah.
yeah,
Both
but
on land and off land. Yep.
yes. So yeah, that's probably what scares me the most for sure. So that's it, man. That was great. That was a
easy.
very fun
was easy.
conversation. And we could have kept going. I'm looking at the clock. I'm like, let's just keep going. This is great. Like, so I want to talk like really quick. How do people find you? We did not talk about the podcast at all. So make sure you pump up the podcast because I have a lot of friends in EO here in Chicago, and I'm sure that they are familiar with you or who you are. But for those that may be listening to this that aren't, like, plug the podcast and then tell people where they can find you.
All right. So yeah, if you like this podcast, I think you'd probably like EO 360. It's Entrepreneurs Organization 360. I think on all the players it goes by EO 360 with Dave Will and obviously my name. And yeah, we've been doing that like 10 years. I had some amazing guests, like the founder of UGG. Who's an older guy now, the founder of Reebok, another shoe company, and like where the name Reebok came from. Paul DeGelder, the shark attack guy, what an amazing storyteller. The mountain climber that found Sir Edmund Hillary, I think it was Sir Edmund Hillary. I confused some of the famous mountain climbers, but like found his body on Everest. Like it's just incredible stories in this podcast. So that's EO 360. Very, very similar vibe as what you do here. I tend to interview people about their experiences and their journeys. Sometimes there's thought leadership stuff in there. Also, I'm on LinkedIn. David Will or David R. Will or something like that. I'm not sure. It's either Dave or David R. And so that's on LinkedIn. And then if anybody ever wants to reach me, they can reach me at dave@propfuel.com.
There you go. Dave Will, by the way. You got some emoji
Dave
hands
Will,
and then Dave Will.
Yeah, I saw somebody put that emoji of like hands in the air, and I thought it was cute. So it's just a way of expressing a little emotion in an emoji in LinkedIn.
Awesome. Great.
Hey, you want to hear a good dad joke?
Yeah, of course.
So, by the way,
that's a dumb question.
I started doing dad jokes at the beginning of talks when I go to a conference and I have a session and I go out and do a session. And I started doing dad jokes, and now I do them in webinars for my business too. People freaking love it. Like it's such a great way just to set a tone and a vibe. So by all means, feel free to steal the idea. It's really, really fun. So how does Darth Vader like his toast?
I don't know.
Of course, this is a Star Wars dad joke too. It makes it even better. He likes it on the dark side. A little bit darker, a little darker than normal.
All right.
Yeah.
I like that one. I'm going to tell, as soon as my kids, actually, I got to go pick my daughter up. As soon as I pick her up, I'm going to tell her that one. She'll love it. She'll call me a dork.
Side.
She'll call me a dork. She'll get it though.
Jared Gibson, thank you, man. That was fun.
Thank you, Dave. Dave, that was great. Great, amazing conversation. And I am super excited to meet you in person in Indianapolis.
Just booked my flight today.
Yep, I'm just going to drive down. I'm in Chicago, so it's super close.
Yeah, it's August.
Awesome.
Don't go in September. Nobody will be there.
August. Okay. Anyway, big thanks to Dave for coming on the show today. If you liked it, share it, tell a friend. Follow it, subscribe. It's still a young podcast. The more I can get, the more people will look at it and be like, oh, this is something I should go on. So
rate it. Rate the podcast.
That thing. Rate it. Absolutely.
The ratings go a long way.
Yep. And remember, tagline here, behind every strategy, title, or success story, there's chaos, self-doubt, and a whole lot of trial and error. See you next time.